Make no mistake, this team tests fans in a way I can't think of another team that has done it. The emotional roller coaster of 2025 Detroit Tigers baseball should be a 30 for 30.
I call it emotional abuse.
If the Tigers miss the playoffs, if they miss the playoffs after holding a 14-game lead, it will be the largest blown lead by a team that did not win its division or league in modern AL/NL history. An all-time collapse.
I'm a diehard WWE fan.
I'm unsure what to say about the Tigers season this year, but it definitely was one of the seasons of all time. Last year in 2024, the momentum shifted very, very fast. The Tigers made the postseason after having a 0.2% chance to make the playoffs, and only about 2 or 3 games before they were eliminated from playoff contention entirely. They went against the Houston Astros in the wildcard round as the 6th seed, which is the lowest seed you can get in the MLB playoffs, and they swept them. They won both games in Houston. So now the optimism for Detroit fans was greater than ever before. They had to play Cleveland, their main rival, but they lost in 5 games. However, the signs were showing for a promising year the next year because you had stars like Riley Green, Kerry Carpenter, Dylan Dingler, who made his emergence known that year, and Parker Meadows. Some players needed a resurgence, like Javier Baez and Spencer Torkelson. We'll get to more of that later. Going into 2025, the expectations were not the highest. The general manager, Scott Harris, did not get any splash signings other than Gleyber Torres, a former All-Star on the Yankees, and Jack Flaherty, who had spent all until the deadline on the Tigers before getting shipped away to the Dodgers, who won the World Series that year. Fans still expected a playoff berth, but as they saw what the Tigers could do, they wanted more. Not necessarily World Series type things, but at least deep playoff run type things. In the first 3 games of the season in LA, they were swept by the Dodgers, which, to be fair, could be expected because the Dodgers have the greatest player of all time and a bunch of all-stars in their supporting cast like Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, Will Smith, Max Muncy, Teoscar Hernandez. The list can go on and on. However, that was not an indication of how the Tigers' first half of the season would go. They would beat the Yankees, Twins, Royals, and Padres in series, and then they would even sweep the Red Sox in mid-May before Memorial Day. They looked like one of the strongest teams in the MLB. They became the first MLB team to reach 50 wins, and some key contributors to that were Javier Baez, who was really on a prove-it year, struggling the first 2 years of his contract, and he was placed at center field for the injured Parker Meadows, who had hurt himself a month prior. That would give him beast mode activity. One of the major contributors on that team, as well as Baez, was Spencer Torkelson, who was struggling in his first 2 or 3 years as a Tiger. Now, he's just hitting bombs. He's hitting home runs, getting extra base hits, playing good defense. He's doing everything that he can for his team, and it's working. Other obvious contributors are Tarek Skubal, who won the Triple Crown the year before in 2024, and it was the main part of the Tigers making the playoffs, and Riley Green, who also was an All-Star last year. By July, the Tigers were 15.5 games above the rest of the AL Central, which included the struggling yet talented Cleveland Guardians. The Guardians were very top-heavy, but before you knew it, it seemed like the Tigers had a technical knockout on their hands.
So you see the dance moves, and sometimes when somebody asks you out on the dance floor, you pick the wrong partner.
During the All-Star break, the Tigers had 4 All-Stars in their organization, but 2 more were added due to injury, making it a tie for their franchise high of all time. The 4 All-Stars were Tarek Skubal, Riley Green, Gleyber Torres, and Javier Baez as a center fielder who Who would have thought? The two that were added due to injury were Zach McKinstry and Casey Mize, both players that deserved an all-star shot but were taken away because of some other team. The Tigers looked absolutely unstoppable. Their record did not show it necessarily. Yes, 15 is a lot, but they could have been up way more than that because of how magical their team looked. But it's a good thing that all the players were able to be given their respect. And even then, some were left off, like Kerry Carpenter, who after coming back from an injury, had a good stretch before July. Then, Shane Bieber from the Guardians was traded to the Blue Jays at the trade deadline. And it looked bad, it looked very bleak for those Cleveland Guardians fans. The Tigers, however, would start to lose games. And after losing the series to the New York Mets and Detroit during Labor Day weekend, many fans started to panic. And that panic would be great intuition.
The depression the Tigers have been going through in the past 20 or 25 games, I don't know what to say right now. I really don't.
They would have the worst divisional collapse in MLB history, losing that 15.5 game lead they had in mid-July. They lost 5 of 6 versus the Guardians in September, which was likely the dagger of them losing a division because if you look, every other team in the AL Central, the Tigers had a winning record against. The lone team that they had a losing record against was Cleveland. They ended up going 28-37 post All-Star break and 7-17 in the month of September. 3 of them being after September 10th. The Tigers were saved by God's grace, only making the postseason due to a tiebreaker with Houston. One more half game, one more loss against Houston, and it's over. They would have to play the very team that they slumped against in September, the Guardians. Shockingly, the Tigers beat the red-hot Cleveland Guardians in Game 1 with Skubal pitching. Every game that the Tigers pitched Skubal, fans and teammates alike were confident that they were going to win the game because of Skubal's prowess as a starting pitcher. However, in September, that didn't necessarily happen. The fact that they won Game 1 in Cleveland was a refresh. It was a cultural reset for everyone watching at home, for all the administrative figures, for the coaches, for the staff, for the team. The Tigers won Game 3 without Skubal pitching and were headed to their second straight ALDS. The Tigers would face the Seattle Mariners, who had a stacked lineup including Julio Rodriguez, MVP favorite Cal Raleigh, Jorge Polanco, Eugenio Suarez, Josh Naylor, a former Cleveland Guardian from 2024, and even more stacked hitters like Randy Arozarena. They would go to Game 5 and have a 15-inning classic, making it the largest and longest MLB winner-take-all game in history, full of bailouts and everything. I mean, from both sides. Teams were getting bailed out by double plays, getting easy throws to home to get a tag out, striking out the biggest hitters in the game. And eventually, this would happen.
For the 16th inning, Polanco with one swing could end the series. 3-2. Polanco sends it away and will send Seattle to the American League Championship Series for the first time in 24 years.
Jorge Polanco hits a single with the bases loaded in the bottom of the 15th inning to send the Mariners to their first ALCS in 24 years. As of recording, they are tied 2-2 with the Blue Jays. They could make their own collapse because of the fact that they were up 2-0 when facing them in Toronto, but have since lost the lead. So what's next? What's next for these Tigers coming into 2026? Skubal's on his last year of arbitration. He can become a free agent after next year. Gleyber Torres is off of his deal. If he gets a contract extension, the Tigers have another player and another all-star they can work with. For the Tigers to make the World Series, I believe they need a right-handed bat or two that can help shake up the lineup. They have a ton of left-handed hitters that can hit. Colt Keith, Kerry Carpenter, Riley Green, Winsell Perez can make magic happen, as we saw against Cleveland in the wild card round, even when struggling. But Scott Harris does not really sign huge talent on the Tigers unless their name is Javier Baez or Gleyber Torres. So what do you guys think? Put down a comment below what free agent you would like to see on the Tigers and who you think can help end this World Series stench that we are in. The Detroit Tigers have not made it to a World Series since 2012. They have not won a World Series game since 2006 when they played the Cardinals. What free agent do you think will make it on the Tigers organization? Or who do you think has it to change the game and change the seasons to come for Detroit? As always, THEOmarWhite. I'll see you later.